Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, What is the Common Denominator? Well, if you noticed, everything changes. Experiences changes, thoughts changes, feelings, sensation changes, but there's something that remains. And what remains is direct experiencing. Life remains. And you are life. You are that. And that is what I refer to as the common denominator, which technically speaking is the only denominator. When you rest in beingness, you see how life unfolds. But it's not you, the person, who see that life unfolds. It's that life is unfolding. You see? I was going to make a video called True Seeing, but I might as well include it in here. What is true seeing? Well, it's not a conceptual seeing. It's the registering of everything without the judgment. Right now, seeing is happening without your concern, without your help, without your permission. Seeing is happening. Well, that is what is referred to as true seeing. The moment a thought comes in and the mind begins to fragment seeing, then true seeing is overlapped or overlooked by judgment. You see? True seeing is the experience of seeing itself. But the judgment is what takes this wholeness and it seems to fragment it. When you're sleeping, all that there is the only mind that there is you. And that's it. That is the space like. The moment images are projected onto that field, projected by you, the mind, but when they're projected onto the field never stops being the field. It's just that now it's created the illusion of fragmentation because the images suggest that the field is no longer the field. And now the images is what seems to be true, and they give the illusion that the field is fragmented. But the field is never fragmented. It's the optical illusion of the images that overshadows the field. Well, right now, the optical illusion of the images overshadows the fact that you are, which is what I refer to as the common denominator. You are always. You can never not be. Let's put it to the test. Can you say that you are not? You see? You're always being. But the mind cannot grasp this because the mind itself is a thought in all that there is. And the conceptual mind only serves to fragment, to divide, to translate. You see? But without that, all that there is what is, which is the experience itself of being. And in the experience itself of being, there's going to be all sorts of thoughts that seems to appear. There'll be all kinds of sensations that seems to appear. There'll be all kinds of experiences that seem to take place. But what is the common denominator? What remains? What remains is the isness, meaning what remains is the space in which all of that seems to appear and disappear. When you are conscious of that, not you as a person, but I'm using the language even with its limitation, because the language itself is a limitation. But where it is pointing to is that when you remain as you are, what difference does it make what seems to be taking place in the world of appearances? What difference does it make what kind of sensations may seem to appear? What difference does it make what kind of images are seen? You remain as you are. You see? So right now, when you look around, seeing is happening. That's it. When you begin to fragment the scene, the wholeness, into parts, that's when judgment comes in. And yes, judgment is necessary in order to function in this world of appearances, because we need to label things in order to know what everything seems to be, just for functional purposes. That's it, not for truth. For truth, nothing means anything, because in truth, all that there is the essence, beingness. So we're learning now to live in the world of experiences with a mind that is not of the world, which is referred to as without the ego's thought system. We still act as if we are separate entities, because the illusion is that I am this seeming individual who's talking to seemingly you, not live or personally, but in this case, interacting in this way. Yeah, that's fine. The appearance could be there, but there's a recognition that is beyond the appearances that knows that I am. I know that I am not saying these words, while simultaneously words are seen to come through this instrument called me. I'm aware that seeing is what's happened, because seeing happens before the mind engages and begins to translate. And yet the translation is used for practical reasons. That's fine. There's not an issue with that. So these videos are pointing to the common denominator, to the fact that you are. And the common denominator between you and I is the essence of beingness. That is what is common. What appears to be a difference is that there's a you who thinks that is a you, and there's a me who thinks that is a me. But that is just a thought in wholeness. Thought is what says that I am what I think I am, and thought is what suggests that you are what you think you are. But without the thought, what remains? The common denominator. What remains is what is, and you simply are. And this is pointing to that. And whenever thoughts appear, sensations appear, all sorts of seeming turmoil, or whatever you want to, well, if you don't label it turmoil, it's just basically passing clouds. When all of that appears, you remain as that, and then none of that has any power to distract you from the fact that you are. And this is what these videos are pointing to. They're pointing to the obvious. The obvious is that you always are. If you don't identify with the content of the mind, if you don't believe your thoughts, what remains? Don't try to answer this question, because that brings you back to the mind. I'm simply pointing to what remains. You cannot negate the fact that what remains is what is. And what is life itself. Isness. I mean, don't label it anything, it just is. And now notice how in the isness thoughts appear, sensations appear, images seems to appear, but you remain as you are. You see? And this is where these videos are pointing to all the time. There's nothing to do, simply be. True seeing now happens because it's not overshadowed by the judgment. I would say by the emotional content that comes with the meaning that we project onto anything. The emotional content implies that seeing seems to happen, but the moment the thought I individual seems to appear in beingness, now it seems as though I am separate from everything else, when we are wholeness is the whole thing. I am wholeness, wholeness is, put it this way. And then it appears that I am separate from everything else, so now I have to protect myself, because a thought suggests that I am in danger, because I have to make sure that nothing can threaten me, this seeming separate individual, which is a thought that has not been investigated. Does that mean that if I am conscious of what I am, I will not defend myself and I will allow things to happen to me? Well, again, when you recognize that you are, you also know that life is taking care of all the details in the seeming projection. What means by that is that the me that seems to be talking right now is basically an instrument through which life is expressing itself, and if there's something that could threaten this seeming me, life itself will take care of leading this seeming instrument to take whatever action is necessary in order to avoid that which could be a threat to this seeming individual. On a physical level, that's what may happen. However, on a psychological level, there's an awareness of the fact that I am, and therefore nothing can actually threaten me. The body can seem to be threatened, but what I am cannot. That's why in the analogy of the dream, you can be dreaming that you are in the jungle and an animal is going after you. The animal could probably hurt the human being in the dream within the laws of that seeming dream, of course. Well, it seems that it could hurt the human being in the dream. It seems that it could affect the human being in the dream, but it cannot affect the dreamer of the dream. You see? So when there's a recognition that I am the dreamer of the dream, now everything is seen as such, but has no effect psychologically on who I am. And once again, within the context of this illusion, that which projects the dream will take care of whatever needs to be taken care of within the context of the dream, without ever losing sight of the fact that I am. You see? I believe Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say, the body will do whatever it will do according to its destiny, but I remain as I am. You see? So don't let the mind try to trick you into thinking, but what if this happened, or what if that happens? Let's go straight to the simplicity of this. Right now, what seems to be happening, I always keep saying the word seems because it's a projection, but however, within the context of the dream, what seems to be happening is you watching a video, right? That's what seems to be happening, and that's all there is. You see? So why bother to, when the thought comes up, but what if this happened, or what if tomorrow? I don't know. I have no idea what life is doing with this instrument. I always know what it's doing in the moment. Right now, what life is doing with this instrument is recording a video. From this point, I have no clue what life is going to do with this instrument. And I'm okay with that. Because again, we're resting in the fact that I am. When you rest in the fact that I am, just observe how life unfolds. That's all. As simple as that. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to do. It's just simply being, and we're pointing to that. And when you rest in that, everything changes, but what remains? What remains is what is. And that isness is what you and I share. That's why the isness is the common denominator, and the thoughts are just attempts to distract from the fact that I am. And thoughts will be used for practical reasons. Of course, if I want to make myself a sandwich, a lot of thoughts have to come along with that. First of all, the thought, I'm going to make myself a sandwich. Then the thought is, what is a sandwich? Then the thought, what is bread? And then the thought, the bread is over here. And then the thought, there's thing is called a refrigerator. And then the thought, if I open the refrigerator, there's things inside. And then the thought, which one of these things inside is the ham? Which one is the cheese? Which one is whatever I'm going to put in the sandwich? You see? A lot of thoughts are happening within the functionality of this world of appearances. But I remain as I am, even while I am supposedly making the sandwich and doing all that it needs to be done for the sandwich to take place. And then also the thought of me bringing it to the mouth and then chewing. All of that thoughts are basically part of the function of the context within this dream. But they have nothing to do with who I am. We're pointing to who I am, to what I am. We're not pointing to anything else. There's not a concern here about what to do or not to do, or how to be or how not to be. It's just the fact that I am. This is where the videos are pointing to always. That's never going to change. The message is the same. Whatever seeming challenges that someone brings into the picture, into the equation, these are thoughts that has not been questions, that are taken as truth, and then people are reacting to the thought, not to what is. Right now, you're just watching this video. If I am saying something that you disagree with, you may react to that, but you're not reacting to what I'm saying. You're reacting to your interpretation, to the thought that is somehow hovering over you, that you're taking it as a truth, or something that says, no, what Nix is saying is not true, but I believe that what I'm thinking is true. That's fine. I'm not against that. I'm simply saying that begin to question who's the one who believe that that thought is true? Who is that one that believe the thoughts, that believe whatever seems to be happening? Who is that one? That's what this is pointing to. Not about agreeing or disagreeing. Find out who that one is. And you will not find that one, because that one is also a thought. But what will remain, however, what always remains, is the common denominator that you and I share, which is not the thought that suggests that you are you, nor the thought that suggests that I am me. Is the background, is that in which all of this, the seeming you and the seeming me, and even the thought that appear that they are mine and the thoughts that appear that they're yours, they all appear in that, and you are that. That's what it says, that I am that, you are that. All this is that, and that is all there is. Okay, this is the inspiration that came through, so I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.